Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today, we're taking a look at this giant behemoth of a box next to me, the Isofarian Guard. Now, this is a prototype that we have in front of us, and we have it for a very specific reason. First off, over on Alex, Board Game Co.'s channel, there's going to be an unboxing with the designer. Here, we're going to be working on a series of gameplays. We already have Chapter 1 and 2 filmed, collaborating with Board Game Co. and we might do more down the road depending on the engagement on this video. So subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment down below if you want to start seeing where this game is going. Because it's been some time since the Kickstarter launched, and they're getting closer and closer to the point of hitting press and sending everything out to you, the backers. We're at the point now where it's really lore writing and a bit of end credit flavor text that needs to be developed, and then this game is ready to be set down in front of you. This is one of the production copies that's been designed specifically to give the prototype a run, to make sure that, well, everything is as perfect as possible when it gets into your hands. And for those of you that are new to this world of board gaming, Isofarian Guard launched on Kickstarter about a year and a half ago or so. And it has been, for me, one of the many story games that I've been anticipating quite a lot. So I'm super thrilled to have a copy here in front of me in order to highlight and share. And just so you know, the top link of this video is going to swing you over to the Pledge Manager because they only have about 6 weeks left before the Pledge Manager closes completely. They have to get the final number of backers, the official number calculated, so that they can go ahead and get this shipped out to everyone. Right now, the entire game, that giant box that you saw next to me, is standing at like $79. When the Pledge Manager closes, the designers have said because of the added content and the amount of production work they've done with the final kind of size, scope, and scale of the box, that's going to be increasing by about 50%. So if you want to get your hands on this game, and you want to get your hands on the best price of this game, that really is going to be your last chance to get it at a price that is that low. That being said, we've already done some gameplay. We have a full unboxing over on Board Game Co.'s channel, and I thought I'd sit down and walk you through my initial thoughts and what is happening here on the prototype, give you a little bit more of an in-depth look into all the components we have in front of us, so that everyone that's already backed this can, well, be excited about it. And just in case anyone's wondering, I have no ties at all to the Isofarian Guard, other than being a content creator that loves big box story games, and of course, getting a prototype that I have the honor of being able to share with you. So if you follow that link down below or not, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to see people doing cool things succeed. That being said, I have everything splayed out in front of me, and for those of you that aren't familiar with what the Isofarian Guard is, it's going to be an open-world adventure game, built primarily over here on this big map. Now we have the vinyl playmat here as well. It's not made out of vinyl. I forget what it's made out of. Polyester something, mouse pad material. We have the playmat over here. I also have the smaller sort of cardboard one that I don't have completely opened up because it just takes up a decent amount of space. But on this board you can see various different regions and trigger points all across the world, and as you play this you'll be journeying through 5 core stories, starting with a solo prequel mode, moving into a 2-player collaborative experience where you have even these double-sided miniatures joining together here, going out on the adventure. You're going to have a world that's starting to chain with creatures that you can hunt for specific resources to upgrade your gear grids, to story arcs and adventures and side quests that just open up the world as you play. The more you explore, the more opportunity for exploration is going to exist. That's going to be the core part of this. You're also going to have a series of core central stories. This is not a game where you are playing some random nameless RPG character and creating your own story. Instead, you're playing as one of a variety of stone-bound or stone-born, stone-bound characters who are imbued with kind of the power of the earth, the power of nature, with various relics and stones and magic abilities that the world doesn't quite understand. You're going to have tech trees for each one of them. As you develop and start adapting and growing, you can go down various pathways determining the skill sets that you'd like to have. Instead of a narrowed branching pathway like the original Kickstarter presented, they've opened it up based off feedback from a variety of playtesters, giving you the opportunity to go down a lot of different paths. So the other core element of this game is going to be the bag building nature of this. The thing that I think is going to make this stand out compared to other sort of open world adventure games is going to be the fact that you're going to be building a bag full of, well, I mean, Toonie Bones style chips, weighted poker chips that slot into these bags and trigger your attack, your defense, the actions you can take, the modifiers that you have, like poison and stun. And you'll be taking your actions throughout every sequence of the game by using this chip bag, with some of them exhausting or refreshing, filling this as the game goes on and never quite knowing exactly what you're going to be pulling out, but always realizing that the decisions you've made in the past will be the consequences of the future. This game is built into two core systems, which is going to be your player board here and the monster or fight board up here. There's going to be a few of these fighting boards, and when you engage with a combat or a scenario or a story element, after you're done listening or reading to the flavor text, which is going to be filling up this book, you're then going to pull out the cards that are associated with the scenario that you're facing, pull out your player board, and start engaging in a head-to-head a head-to-head cross battle where the monsters and the creatures will also be drawing from a bag of stats. All of these cards right here are dealing with the various different monster or creature decks that you're going to be facing along the way. You see, all of these, and I won't show too many spoilers here, but all of these are going to have their own AI system and AI cards. And so as you play, you're going to be facing off with a whole variety of different customizable creatures, which means their level, their skill, and the way they interact with you will be scripted to exactly what you're facing, whether that's a guardsman or a giant black bear or some other nefarious creature like a boss that you might not be used to. So that's an overview of what this game is. Let's start digging into the actual components. So first off is going to be the map over here. Alongside the map, with beautiful artwork and a stunning amount of regions and locations that you can interact with throughout your journeys, you're also going to have these zoom-in locations. Fort Straz, Salini, Baba, we have Razdor, the Ice Caves, Frozen Wastelands, the Uno, the Circle of Seers, Mir, and Stropha. These are going to be towns and settlements that you can arrive to throughout the course of the game. They will zoom into different regions of the map or cities of the map, and as you play, you'll be able to do things like interact with blacksmiths, go shopping, spend resources, join quests, and so on and so forth at each of those zoomed-in map areas. Along with that, we have Fort Istra. This is going to be your home base with a development system that allows you to start customizing the location where you and your tribesmen, the Stonebound that have sort of become outcasts of your civilization, where you exist and start developing your camp. This will change throughout the course of the gameplay as well, getting new upgrade slots and buildings that are locked in that change how you interact with the map. Alongside that, is going to be our encounter book. This encounter book is, first off, going to present you with your personal character levels and skills, all the different ways you can sequence, upgrade, and customize every one of your core 5 or 6 characters. Finally, you're also going to have your side quests that exist in here, which I don't think I'm allowed to give away. And then finally, your enemy indexes. This index is going to be the way that you interact with the world. As you move around, you're going to be drawing from a settlement or interact deck. That interact deck, when you draw from this bag here, not the monster bag, it's the thing that spawns the monsters, that interact deck is going to be scripting the way that you're dealing with different regions as you play. So each one of these locations has up to about 3 different interactions that you could come across. Now, most of those will be straight battles as you're harvesting and gaining resources for the blacksmith, but every now and then you'll have a story event or something that starts changing the course of your adventure. Swinging over here, you've probably seen these artworks already. We have our main characters. Vera, I'm not going to try to read all the names, but these are sort of like Viking warriors and warriesses. I don't know if that's a term or not. really showing off some incredible artwork. And what we've seen already with the 2-player gameplay that we've had is, even though they work off this core system of bag building and development, it is amazing how different both play. One of them utilizing weapons, slashes, and attacks, the other really focused on tactical potion control, combining resources and sequencing things in a way that allows him to do a big hit when it's time, but also buff and supplement his allies' deck of chips that you're pulling out of the map. Moving up to these stack of cards here, these are going to be the adventure and the narrative of the game. We have a whole series of creatures and weapons and story arcs and cards that you're pulling and narrative elements that you're interacting with. Like here we have a series of cards that you're using for the different characters that you can play, along with the rune stones or the stone-bound items that they can be compared with. And if you look, every single character has their own custom sequence of artwork, both on the front and the back of the cards, giving you, really, really thematic artwork as you're doing things like giant, glaive launch, blinding strike, bodyguard, spear dive, and so on and so forth. Slide that back in, hopefully not mixing everything as we go. This stack is dealing specifically with creatures, and I know we've already faced off against the mountain bear, so I can show off some of this. So the mountain bear is going to be this ferocious creature here with a variable amount of resources that you earn when you defeat it. It's also going to have this standard AI deck, and you'll be flipping these and determining the attack that it's taking and how it's going to be fighting with you, interacting with you. This is a really central part, and because every single creature has its own AI deck, you're going to have customized fights and customized consequences depending on where you are and how you're exploring the world. And like I said, all of these are things that you can fight with their own personality. Moving over here to the big boards that I have in front of me, these are going to be your player boards with a really cool save system. You see this giant tray here? I can take this, shake it, mix it up, and this is going to be how you save your game with the character slot and tokens and stats included. So I'll pop this over. And this is a prototype copy, of course. I did actually have a few cards slide around in there, but not enough that it is a issue. I suppose if you turn it upside down and shake it, you might have that. But all of our bits, pieces, tokens, all stayed in place. You can even save your health, your resource stats, all these things that will fall over when I tip it. They don't fall over if you have that save file on top. This is going to be your character arc, your character board that's tracking how you're developing, since you're going to be able to save the game by just placing that directly on top of it. It'll be a game that's really easy to put away and pull back out. Character boards here are going to control things like your weapons, your items, your stats, your health, how many activations or actions you can take when you pull chips from your bag, and also how many chips you're going to be pulling from your bag. Like I said, every character has their own way of fighting and interacting with their board, and this bottom board here is going to script that. You're going to be dealing with things like your runestone. You're also going to be doing things like your core attacks, guard, feint, advance, take cover, preparation, and I really just want to show you all the artwork, critical strike. So this pops back in here, this gem here. I don't quite remember where our health was, but that's okay because we're just playing through a few prototype rounds of it anyway. Slide that in, and that saves on top. Nice and simple. So I'll set that off to the side. You're going to have two of these save trays, because, like I said, you're going to be playing with two characters at the same time. That's where these miniatures come from, and honestly, these miniatures are shockingly beautiful. Now, what we have here is going to be wax resin casts, or red wax casts. Super high detail. Of course, they're going to be hand-painted by someone that the publisher hired, and these are really production copies to show off the final attuned detail with what people should be getting in the final game. This is where you do the final quality check before you send it off to the official manufacturer. These casts set the foundation for what you get in high quality plastics, The reason why you do resin or wax casts is because it gets a lot of fine-tuned detail, which translates well into the final cast, but it happens to be very fragile, so you have to upgrade that to a system or a material that's going to be a little bit more effective. We have 2 little slider dials here, which are going to be Sil and Lux. Sil is going to be the money you're spending. Lux is going to be the mana that you use to upgrade your characters. And we have, of course, a blacksmith book determining and showing the different areas that have craftable items. So one of the cool things about this game is you're going to have to go hunting and gathering specific resources from regions and creatures throughout the land, because each one's going to give you the ingredients that you need in order to come into various different towns and craft the items that you're looking for. So all these marketplaces have their own economy, their own buy-sell, trade ratios, and also custom gear, like this bear tunic that I absolutely want to own. Close that up, and that's going to be the zoomed in locations on the towns. And of course we have our current storybook, which is only the prototype sequence of, I believe, chapter 1 to campaign 1 out of, I think, 4 or 5 total campaigns, so expect another 4 of these books included in the final goal. And if you are a fan of flavor text, I will save a little bit of flavor text reading for the very end of this, but they're also doing full-on audio work with Foreteller, one of the biggest projects Foreteller has had, one of the earliest ones as well, and so all of this has been written in order to be read on camera. From there, we have a few game trays, prototype boxes. I'm not sure if these are official or if these are just convenient to use, but these are going to be the items that are going to be holding your resources and tokens. We have a stack of cards for harvesting, mining, weapons, armor, accessories, enemy drops. I'll just go ahead and spoil one. Let's see here. What can we find? Things like a giant raptor claw that you can rip off a creature. Or let's find a piece of armor here. We have a pendant of wisdom. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to and not allowed to show, so, let's do a mining thing as well. A raven's beak flask. Are you drinking from the raven's beak? I don't think so. I think it's just used to plug it. And I'd like to pull one of these, a swift gale. So lots of custom artwork, lots of really cool, unique items and abilities that'll start shifting and changing. And you're going to have a lot of different rune stones and kind of magic principles that you can interact with. Those are going to be all those tiny cards. And like I said, here is going to be all of your bag building tokens. So the red ones are going to be status effects, both good and bad. Green are going to be, red ones are going to be bad status effects. Green are going to be positive status effects. And then you also have purple, which are going to be super powered kind of special abilities that you can take and utilize. These are going to be on giant, cages of plastic that allow you to pick up and transfer all of your poker chips. Super high quality, weighted poker chips. They really add a nice tactical feel. So if you like Too Many Bones, if you like feeling and playing with and pulling chips out of a bag, these are going to be ones that you're going to enjoy having on your table. And with that, that's more or less a core overview of the core concepts and all the stuff that I don't think a lot of you have seen yet. I know this is one of the first times that this prototype has been shown. I know there's hundreds of people that are excited, kind of chomping at the bit, to get a first look at Isofarian Guard. So, I thought I'd pull it out. Like I said, we have 2 gameplays already recorded and currently in production. I know there's a bunch of other content creators getting prototypes as well, because it's time to start shouting about and sharing what they have coming down the road, what they've been working so hard on over the course of the last year and a half or so. With that being said, let's read a little bit of flavor text. But before that, just one little sip of Red Bull, because it's early in the morning. The way you know it's early in the morning when I'm here is because Alex isn't here, and this is his studio, and Alex only really sleeps for about 5 hours, from 1 a.m. to about 6, so I have to take advantage of that window when I'm in Cleveland. The Isofarian Guard Prologue. A cold wind bites into your face as you stare across the killing field. It makes your eyes water and then freeze, covering your eyelashes in tiny crystals. You close your eyes to melt the ice, and so you won't have to stare at the bodies. The Falmundians lay piled up in the narrow pass where you and your fellow guards had ambushed them. A few soldiers had managed to survive the initial arrow barrage and attempted to flee, but they only provided slightly harder target practice. Even with your eyes closed, the images are etched in your eyelids. The surprise on the soldiers' faces followed quickly by fear and panic. They hadn't stood a chance. Already, the wind and snow are working to sweep the carnage under the fresh white blanket. You and a couple of the younger guards begin picking through the dead like carrion crows, searching for anything of value. You brush the snow from the fallen captain, revealing a face that is far too young. Reaching into the dead man's pockets, you're rewarded with a folded piece of parchment bearing a broken wax seal of Falmund. Inside is a hastily scribbled letter in a script you can't read. Most likely marching orders for the deceased squad. It feels odd to be holding a letter that was sent to its bearer to his doom. If the soldiers had already been able to carry out their orders, it would be you lying in the snow alongside your brothers and sisters. You suddenly feel tired. What is it all for? The senseless fighting, the waste of life, there's no meaning in it. With a sigh, you rise from the corpse and begin making your way towards the Captain Grigory with the letter. On the way, you pass Pavel and Yana, who are briefly riffling through another corpse. They glance up at you and notice the letter, nodding in approval before returning to their grim task. Captain Grigory is in a deep conversation with Vera, Catherine, and Karzin. When you approach with the letter, the captain notices you and breaks away from the group. "What have you found, Yuri?" "A letter on the captain, sir. Probably orders, but I can't make it out." Captain Grigory scans the letter and frowns. "This is odd. It appears a group was not part of the regular army. They were a special detachment calling themselves Stone Hunters. What could their purpose have been?" "I've heard of these Stone Hunters," says Catherine, stepping forward. They have brought into their mad king's delusion about the Stonebound." "Stonebound? You mean the rumors of people with magical powers?" asked Captain Grigory. "Yes," she replies. "These Stonebound supposedly use special stones to give them magic powers. This group of stone hunters must have been tracking some poor soul when they made the mistake of crossing into our lands." "It's all nonsense," interjects Vera. "The Stonebound don't even exist. What kind of fool believes in magic and fairy tales?" "What do you think, Karzin?" asks Captain Grigory. "Do you have any insight on the matter?" Karzin looks down at his boots and inhales slowly before letting it out. He seems to be weighing his thoughts. A few moments pass before he seems to reach some decision. He looks up slowly and meets the captain's eyes. "It's not nonsense. I've seen a Stonebound with my own eyes." Karzin waits to be interrupted, but everyone is silent, waiting for him to go on. "This was a few months back. I was on a galley patrolling just off the east coast of neutral waters. We had been out for about a week, and we were just making one last run off the coastline before returning home when 5 Falmund ships came out of nowhere. They'd been hiding in a cove waiting for us. Before we could react, they had lobbed a ball of burning pitch right at us. Captain, I knew in that moment I was going to die. I could only stare as the ball of fiery death got closer. It was a perfect shot, and then it was gone. I couldn't believe my eyes. We all looked around to see what had happened. Someone pointed up the cliffs above us. There was a lone girl standing there. I didn't get a clear look at her before she—" "What?" coaxes Captain Grigory. "What did you see?" "Well, sir, she jumped. She jumped." "Yes, sir. My heart leapt into my throat. I thought she was going to die, but she didn't. She flew towards the Falmund ships like a falling meteor. Halfway down, a brilliant spear appeared in her hand, and she drove it right through the deck of the lead ship." Karzin pauses, gauging everyone's reaction. The faces look back at him, a range of thoughtful to incredulous. Then Vera begins to laugh. It starts as a snicker and builds up to a full belly laugh. "Why have we never heard of this meteor girl of yours, Karzin?" she questions mockingly. "Let me guess. She destroyed all the ships and then flew back into space, not before stopping to give you a peck on the cheek." "Enough, Vera," commands Captain Grigory. "It's true," proclaims Karzin. "She destroys every ship there, then disappeared." Vera doubles over in laughter until nothing but wheezing comes out of her. Karzin turns away in disgust. "I know what I saw." "I don't doubt your sincerity, my friend," says Captain Grigory, placing his arm around Karzin's shoulders. "But perhaps you were so scared in the moment that you weren't thinking straight." "Captain," begins Karzin. "It's okay, Karzin. We'll speak more of this later. We need to check on Pavel and Yana, then head back to Sliny." Captain Grigory heads back down the narrow pass, followed by Catherine and Vera, who is still chuckling and wiping away tears from her eyes. You put your hand on Karzin's shoulder, offering silent support before following the others. When you reach them, your breath catches. There before you stands Pavel and Yana, each holding a strange stone. Stranger still, they are glowing. Karzin smiles and looks at Vera. she isn't laughing anymore. So, there you have it. The introduction to the prologue of Isofarian Guard. Let us know your thoughts, and like I said, if you're excited for content, engage with this video and engage with the other videos over on Board Game Co.'s channel. The more engagement we get, the more the publisher will allow us to show. We, of course, don't want to spoil too much for you. Whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games. We'll see you next time. Thank you.